So what I did last week is I did send 2 videos, very important videos. Right. These ones. The first one was on bonds. The second one was on APV. And clearly, I'm sure when you played the videos, you notice we were actually having illustrations from past papers. Why APV? And I'm sure you had a lot of fun. Takura, did you manage to play the video on APV?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, cool. Those you notice the paper that I used was December. It was it. I'm sure it's December 2019 for some of the illustrations and stuff. Or if it's not December 2019, I shall use December 2019 when they are doing a revision. So you would notice it was a 50-mark question on that. A 50-mark question. So what else then do you need? So this is a very integral topic. If you haven't, the reason why I'm recording and also showing you the need to do that is because if you have not played the video, you are lacking significantly on progression. You need to do that. So today we want to discuss appraising foreign projects. Allow me to open my Excel document as usual so that I'll be illustrating some of the points. Appraising foreign projects. All right, just a few seconds. It's opening. All right. Allow it to open. It may take just a few seconds, but in final analysis, it will open. You know, it's because I don't use your ordinary Microsoft Excel. Rather, I use I use a funny fun application here. They call it WPS Office. Right. Okay. First things first. Appraising foreign projects. Notice when you were doing F9 or FM, or when you are doing your financial management elsewhere, you'd notice we used to say if we are appraising, if you are calculating NPV in dollars, the project is, the cash flows are materializing in dollars when we are calculating in dollars. So it was an understanding that if you are calculating NPV for a project in Zimbabwe, cash flows are being generated in Zimbabwe. So it was like that. But in practice, it's not the case. Oh, sorry guys. Okay, so when you're calculating, I mean, in practice, it's normal that a project may be undertaken. FM may be domiciled in Zimbabwe, and a project being undertaken in Botswana. A firm domiciled in Europe, a project being undertaken in US, etc. Under the circumstances, you'd notice there's an element of exchange rates, an element of an amplified risks, because you are now undertaking project in a multi-jurisdiction. It is also even possible that a firm is in France and it gets raw materials in Brazil and undertakes a project in South Africa. It's possible. A firm is in France, it gets raw materials in Brazil, undertakes a project in South Africa, and then sells the products to America. So you can appreciate the crossweb of risks, the crossweb there of the apart from risks, but of the exchange rates that we then need to be determined. So I don't want to get a lot of theory. I want to just summarize them and say key aspects, so that we move. Number one, this is what you need to know. Risks first by exporters and importers. Remember this, guys. Risks first by exporters and importers. Right? There are quite a lot of risks which you face if you are an exporter or importer, or if you are in the business of undertaking these foreign projects. These risks include, number one, economic risks. You know, what do we mean by economic risk? By economic risk, we are simply saying, you know, if you are in the business of doing projects in other countries, you are exposed to favorable or unfavorable events due to changes in economic variables such as you know, unemployment, GDP, economic growth, recession, etc. All these expose you to the risk of the project being viable or not viable. You understand this. B, there's transaction risk. There's transaction risk. Actually, some call it exchange rate risk. Exchange rate risk. You know, exchange rate risk, what does that mean? It means the risk that cash flows in foreign currency may not materialize as planned due to fluctuations in exchange rates. You know, if you are in Zimbabwe, this is not an issue. In Zimbabwe, we are used to the rate changing. So if you are expecting to receive or pay something in foreign currency, there's a risk that the cash flow may not materialize as you expect because the exchange rates fluctuate. That's transaction risk. And then there is C, translation risk. Translation risk. You know, translation risk, you still remember what this risk is about. It's a risk that assets and liabilities held in foreign currency or held in foreign country or in a foreign currency may increase or decrease in value due to the exchange rate used when you are translating or restating the financial statements in your presentation currency. So translation risk has nothing to do with actual cash movement. No. Translation risk, it's a risk that arises when you have got financial statements or assets or liabilities in another currency or in another country. And when you are preparing financial statements, you have to translate, suppose they are in Pula, you have to translate them to dollars. And under the circumstances, after translation, because the exchange rate may change, you'd notice they may actually, the assets or liabilities may actually increase or decrease in value. No wonder why in other subjects there's what is called exchange gain or loss on translation of foreign operations. All right? D, you know, we can't finish all the other risks. We can't really finish all the other risks. Some are called case-specific risks. Let me just say case-specific risks. If we give you the case, you can come up with these risks like political / legal. You know, there's a lot of risks, political or legal. Oh, let me just say political risks. Or allow me to cancel case specific and say, let me just actually write them like political and legal risks. Legal risks. restrictions on remittances. Restrictions on remittances. There might be restrictions on remittances, meaning you have a project in South Africa and you want to remit money, to repatriate money back to your home country. The laws may not allow you to do that. Issues to do with registration requirements, competition laws, democracy. These countries where you are running, can you imagine a country like Chad, where the president was killed 2 days ago by militia due to political disagreements? Suppose you now had a project in that particular country. Imagine the risks: democracy, competition laws, company registration laws, consumer protection laws, restrictions on remittances, quite a lot of risks that you can have there. Why political and legal risk is an issue? Because it affects what is called strategic certainty. When you are investing in a 4 or 5 year horizon, you need some variables to be predictable. You need predictability. That's what can cause shareholders or investors to commit their money. So if that is not, it's questionable, it may affect actually the viability of the project. Now, if you are faced with a situation where there are restrictions in remittances, suppose I have a project in Botswana and they are restricting my ability to repatriate cash back from Botswana to this home country. How can I circumvent that? There are ways I can circumvent that. The most common way is avoid, meaning try by all means to avoid going to Botswana. That's called avoidance strategy. And then the other is I may actually charge that Botswana project, I can charge it management fees. Because the government of Botswana, what they don't want to repatriate home is the profits of the project, not the ordinary expenses in most instances. So if I charge the Botswana operation management fees, as they are paying expenses in the form of management fees, I will be getting my money back. I can as well increase the transfer price of components that are being used by the project. So if the Botswana project is assembling bicycles, for example, but the components are obtained from home country, what I can get my money back by increasing the transfer price of components. It's another way. As they are paying the transfer price of components, as a company, we are repatriating our money back. But don't think these measures will be successful. It depends on how the government will view it. So the government may actually stop that as well. All right. Then, risk management. Risk management. So, remember, there are various ways of managing risk. An appropriate framework to manage risks is called, you characterize the risk and you manage it properly. We call that TARA framework. Still remember TARA framework from your earlier studies. If you have forgotten, allow me to show you. Let me open anything like this. Now, concerning risk management, we use what is called a heat map. Those who have taught SBL, they understand what I'm talking about, provided I have done with you risk. Those who I am still teaching SBL, we are yet to do this. So it's okay anyway. So there is what is called TARA framework. Allow my laptop here to open. All right. So it's opening. Okay, so here you go. This is called heat map. When you want to manage risks, you prepare what is called a heat map. A heat map characterizes the risk based on two main variables: frequency of occurrence, which is called probability, and then impact, which is called hazard. Meaning, in what way will the firm be affected should this risk really materialize? So why do we call it a heat map? It's like a robot of some sort. If it's red, it means this risk highly occurs and it's highly hazardous should the firm be affected with this particular risk. That's high frequency of occurrence and highly hazardous. Why do we do with such a risk? We avoid. But in an exam, I told you, to those who have taught SBO, you don't say avoid. You avoid, it's a framework for your thinking. What we are actually saying is you come up with a measure, you come up with a way to minimize, to make sure that you don't even expose yourself to that. So if you want to go into a country which is like Chad, like Syria, you would rather actually avoid going there, because probability of skirmishes and unrest and stuff, it's very high, and it's so hazardous. Its impact on the firm is so huge. So what do? You avoid. So I don't want, if you are answering in an exam, to use the word avoid. Avoid it's a generic term. I want you to tone it down into something practical, like choose nations with political stability, choose nations with democracy and stuff. That's better than saying avoid, because if you are saying avoid, you confuse managers. They don't even know what you're talking about. Then there's a risk which has got high impact but low frequency of occurrence. You transfer such a risk. Now, the word transfer there is a generic term. What it actually means is you put it in something in a way which is actionable, like take an insurance policy. If you take an insurance policy, you are transferring the risk. You get that? Take an insurance policy. Then there's a risk which is a high probability of occurrence but low impact. For example, exchange rate risk. When you are into foreign currency, foreign projects, you are exposed to exchange rate risk. What do you do with such a risk? Clearly, you reduce it. But in an exam, I don't want an answer which say reduce. This is a line of thinking. You break it down into something actionable, like take a forward exchange contract, enter into money market hedge, use a currency matching, etc. This is now reduction. You don't just say reduce. And then low, you accept. Low is a risk which has low probability of occurrence, and should it occur, it doesn't harm the firm much. What you do with such a risk is you accept it. So I had here. So I want you to apply risk management. You apply TARA framework. Apply TARA framework by advising directors on actionable, advising directors on actionable ways to manage risks, based on their frequency of occurrence and impact. Frequency of occurrence and impact. So important. That's risk management. So there you go. And then And then there is okay, concerning risk management, it would make sense if I open a paper here. No, I do have quite a lot of questions. When I'm opening questions, I'm just trying to let you see something. And we are not necessarily answering it here, but you'd notice this is the question, this is the paper where I took the question on APV. Sorry. Is this the paper? September, December 2019? Yes. That's the question where we had APV. But later on, so we did this. This we did. If you play the video on APV, notice later on we then there was this question. Then we says discuss why Okan subsidiary may be exposed to economic risk and how it may be mitigated. In other words, economic risk. How can you manage economic? Now, when they say discuss why a company, a subsidiary may be exposed to economic risk. You know, economic risk looks at issues like GDP, economic growth, in money supply, in unemployment, you know, recession, etc. Those are economic risk exposures. So if the question then says, why can a company be exposed to that? It's a matter of now saying, if there's economic recession, for example, if there's high unemployment, for example, judging by this company's business model, by this subsidiary's business model, how is it going to be affected? That's the answer. Discuss how each category, in terms of severity, that's impact, and frequency may be managed. Notice, that's 10 marks there. 10 marks on a risk management. Because when you are investing in another country, you need to be able to manage these risks. So this is what I mean here by saying apply TARA framework by advising directors on actionable ways to manage risks based on their frequency of occurrence and impact. Instead of saying impact, they say severity. You know, when I say actionable ways, I'm saying it's not an answer, Thelma, to say reduce, avoid, accept, transfer. These are not answers, but these are lines of thinking. For example, instead of saying reduce, you can say enter into a forward exchange contract. That's how you reduce it. You get that? Instead of just saying reduce, put it in a manner that is actionable, which you can actually say it's actionable. So let me proceed here. You know, we are discussing quite a lot of concepts. Concept number 3 is on determination of forward and forecast exchange rates. Determination of forward and forecast exchange rates. Forward and forecast exchange rates. Determination of forward and forecast exchange rates. That's another thing here to consider. Because when you're investing in another country, there's need to forecast exchange rates, not just for 6 months like what we used to do, but even for 5 years, because a project may be lasting for 4 years. So you may need to forecast exchange rates in order to determine cash flows for 4 years. So there are 2 main approaches that we use when we are determining forward and forecast exchange rates. The first one is purchasing power parity. Purchasing power parity. Purchasing power parity. You still remember what purchasing power parity says? It's PPP. It simply says the exchange rate reflects the exchange rate movements, or simply say exchange rate movements reflects inflation rate differentials. Exchange rate movements reflect inflation rate differentials between the currencies involved. That's purchasing power parity. Exchange rate movements reflect inflation rate differentials. Inflation rate differentials between the currencies involved. Right? A currency with a high inflation rate, you are writing that, a currency with a high inflation rate, normally depreciates against currencies with low inflation rates. A currency with a high inflation rate normally depreciates against currencies with low inflation rates. You know, that's spot exchange rate. That's spot exchange rate. We call it forecast spot exchange rate, which is ST equals. In power parity, simply say S0 times, open bracket, 1 plus HC, close bracket, over, open bracket, 1 plus HB. That's power parity. When you are using this particular equation, S0 is the current spot exchange rate. Current spot exchange rate, and then HC is the inflation rate for the price currency, and HB, the inflation rate for the base currency. Now, these inflation rates are actually per annum. When you are saying it's the inflation rate for the price currency, it's per annum. Oh, sorry, guys. Hello? Dear, right, will you say? Oh, sorry, you're talking to Mr. Mpats. I'm in a lecture. Can you send me a WhatsApp message? I will respond to it after 3 hours. No, I'm not in town. Cheers. Okay, so there you go. So it's per annum, meaning if it's for period less than a year, you can time apportion it. Now, you know what? Concerning exchange rates are quoted like this. There is suppose I've got an exchange rate which is saying a pound per dollar equals 0.89. Now, if I say pounds per dollar equals 0.89, this pound is called the price currency. Please, I want you to pay attention. If I say pounds per dollar equals 0.89, the pound is called the price currency because it is the currency which is pricing the dollar. Are we together? So the dollar is called the base currency because it is the currency which is being priced. So actually the base currency is the currency given as unit, meaning currency given as unit. As unit is the base currency. That's the exchange rate notation. So a currency which is given as 1 is the base currency. So if I say dollars per rand You know, rand is quoted funny, they call it ZA. Dollars per rand equals, then I say 0,1764, like this. Which one is the best currency? The best currency is the rand, because it is per unit of rand. 1 rand is trading at $0,1764. So if the exchange rate is like this, 10 rands equals $1. In this case, the rand is called the price currency because it's the one which is pricing the dollar. So the dollar will be the best currency. Actually, in any case, the best currency is the currency given is unit. So can you please mute? Can you try muting to minimize background noises? Moby, how are you?
Hello, I say, how are you?
I'm doing great. We welcome you.
Thank you, say.
Okay, pleasure. So these are your wonderful colleagues. So you can do the listening. Okay. We are doing appraising foreign projects, and we are just having a rundown of the salient concepts that are involved. So you can see here, this is the purchasing power parity. It is called the law of one price. Actually, the purchasing power parity holds true in the long term. It's not a short-term thing. It holds true in the long term rather than short-term. It simply says exchange rate movements absorbs inflation rate differentials between the currencies involved. That's purchasing power parity. Then number 2 is, apart from purchasing power parity, there's what is called interest rate parity. Interest rate parity. What does interest rate parity say? Interest rate parity simply means exchange rate, right? This exchange rate movements reflects the differences between the nominal interest rates of the currencies involved. Exchange rate movements reflects differences between the nominal interest rates. This time it's now interest, not inflation. Exchange rate movement reflects differences between the nominal interest rates of the currencies involved. Nominal interest rates of the currencies involved. Of the currencies involved. It is derived from the international Fisher effect. It is derived from the international Fisher effect. It is derived from the international Fisher effect, which states that it is derived from the international Fisher effect, which states that the ratio of nominal interest rates between two currencies, the ratio of nominal interest rates between two currencies, the ratio of nominal interest rates between two currencies is equal to the ratio of their inflation rates. That's the international Fisher effect. The ratio of nominal interest rates between two currencies is equal to the ratio of nominal interest rates between two currencies is equal to the ratio of their inflation rates. Is equal to the ratio of their inflation rates. Full stop. Write this. That interest rate parity fixes forward exchange rates as follows. Interest rate parity fixes forward exchange rates as follows. forward exchange rate. You know, forward exchange rate is denoted like forward exchange rate fixed now for time t. We don't know the time, it's a future time, but we are fixing it now. So you simply say S0 times, open bracket, 1 plus IC over, open bracket, 1 plus IB again. That's forward. That's forward. Now S0 is still the spot, the current spot exchange rate, and then IC equals annual nominal interest rate for the price currency. Annual nominal interest rate for the price currency. You now know what a price currency is. The currency which is not one. And IB is the interest rate for the base currency. Interest rate for the base currency, meaning the currency which is given per unit. That's IB. So this is so salient stuff. It would make sense if I put some illustration, just to illustration, and these are like dummy figures for me to just satisfy myself that you know current spot exchange rate, spot rate. Now the spot rate is saying pound per dollar equals pound 0.89, right? And then pound, let me say pound inflation rate equals 4% per annum. 4% per annum. Dollar inflation rate equals 2% per annum. Dollar inflation rate. You know, instead of saying dollar, they can just give you as a country to say UK inflation is still the same thing, 2% per annum. And then pound interest rate, 9% per annum. Interest rate is higher than inflation because interest should accommodate inflation. Then dollar interest rate, let's put it as 7% per annum. Now required, here are the questions. Required. 1, use PPP forecast the let's say 3 months, 9 months spot rate. Use interest rate parity IRP to determine 1 year forward, exchange rate, and then lastly PP to determine 2-year forecast spot rate. Now you have these as the illustration. We just want to work this out. So solution, all right, quite a lot of things there that we want to talk about. So 1, it's saying use purchasing power parity to determine a spot after after 9 months, meaning the 9 month spot. So you simply say PPP, purchasing power parity. Okay, the equation, you know, the answer here is forecast spot. So you say PPP, then it says S. Remember, it's ST, so this is now S 9 months. That's your T. S 9 months. Spot at 9 months equals, you say S0. Your S0 is today's rate, 0.89 times, open bracket. Remember, this PPP uses inflation rates, and these inflation rates are per annum. So you say 1 plus 0.04 bracket 9 over 12 to bring it to 9 months over 1 plus. You know, the base currency is the dollar, because the currency is the dollar is the one which is given per unit. So the dollar is the base currency. If the pound was the one which is per unit, which is like 1, we were going to do it the opposite. 0.02 bracket 9 over 12. So this is simple maths. You can just use your ordinary calculator. Any calculator there can work it. So you write it nicely. It will be like pounds per dollar equals pound. So it's a matter of saying, you know, 3/4 of 2% is 1.5. 3/4 of 4% is 3. So it's simply saying 0.89 times 1.03. That's the 3/4 of 4 divided by 1.015. Enter. I have the answer here as 0.903. 903. That's the exchange rate after 9 months. Simple as that. 2. Forward. 1 year forward. You say 1 year forward. Year forward equals, you know, have you noticed what we have done on top there? We just multiplied the rate by 9 over 12, but the 1 was not multiplied. So 1 year forward becomes, you use now interest rate parity, 0.89. You are now using interest rates times, you take interest rates as they are because it's 1 year. So it's 1.09 over 1.07. Simple as that. So the answer becomes pound per dollar equals, let me see, 0.89 times 1.09 divided by 1.07, and I'm getting 0.907, like this, 907. So this now becomes the 1 year forward exchange rate. Notice it's a matter of taking exchange rate as they are. But if they now say 2 year forecast, you may say, it's my first time to hear the 2 year forecast. Can you let me know why 2 years? 2 year forecast, it's 2 year forecast. We are simply saying, because you undertake a project which can span for more than a year, so you then need 2 year forecast. So what you then do is you say 0.89 times, let me skip a line in the interest of clarity. 0.89 times, it's now 2 years. So inflation is 4%, so it's 1.04 close bracket to the power 2 over open bracket 1.02 to the power 2. So if it's now a 2 year forecast, always raised to the power 2. So it's 0.89 times 1.04 squared divided by 1,02 squared. And the answer that I'm getting is 925. So the exchange rate 2 years forecast becomes pound per dollar equals 0,925. This will be the exchange rate after 2 years. So if the project has got 4 years, you can now continue to forecast exchange rate even up to a 4-year horizon. You get that? Right. So this is these are the key aspects. Notice our heading here was the key aspects to consider when you are appraising a project in foreign currency. So we are just continuing with our key aspects. Another key aspect is steps when appraising a project in foreign currency. In appraising a project currency. There are steps that you follow because now the project is now in foreign currency. So step one, they determine project is in foreign currency as discussed in earlier chapters. Always know that what you do, remember, you know how to calculate net cash flows. The same way you know how to calculate net cash flows in dollars, this time we are doing it in foreign currency. That's step number one. Step number two is convert foreign currency net cash flows, net cash flows to domestic currency. Don't think domestic currency is the dollar always. No. If the company is in Japan, it will be Japanese yen to domestic currency using forecast exchange rates. You convert using forecast exchange rates. And now, if these are not given, comma, they can be estimated using purchasing power parity or interest rate parity as discussed above. Given exchange rates, you can estimate using purchasing power parity or interest rate parity as discussed above. Then notice that year zero cash flows are usually converted using current spot exchange rates. Exchange rates unless investment is to be made at a later date. If you are converting year zero cash flows, normally use the current spot exchange rate. But if you are told that, because the use of current spot exchange rate, it assumes that the investment is to be made today. Oh, this is step 2, not, I had said step 1 again, it's step 2. It assumes that the investment is to be made today. But if the investment is to be made, say, after a year, of course, you can't, if the investment is to be made in year 1, it will mean your year 0 is now year 1. So then you have to find the exchange rate in year 1, something like that. Then step 3. the domestic current cash flows, with an appropriate or risk-adjusted cost of capital, appropriate or risk-adjusted, meaning adjusted cost of capital to get NPV. So these are the steps. Of course, there's another approach, but that approach is not widely used. You know, another approach is you don't necessarily convert them to domestic currents. Another approach is you just calculate net cash flows in foreign currency, like step 1. Then you discount them in foreign currency. You get NPV in foreign currency, and then you just convert that NPV with today's exchange rate. But that approach is rarely examined, so we are not going to talk about that. It's rarely examined. So what do we mean? So let us say foreign project cash flow template. Foreign project cash flow template. Foreign project cash flow template. Let us assume that our project is just 2 years. Our project is 2 years. So we now have year 012. 2 years. So what you do is you first make sure that this is Forex. The first step says cash flows should be in Forex. Foreign currency, which I'm denoting as FX. Allow me to take it yonder. Let's see how it goes. Okay. Pay attention to this. So you say sales. This is now the usual stuff. What we are going to discuss, what we are going to do now is the usual stuff, like say sales. Some call it incremental revenue. Notice in year 0 we don't have revenue. Incremental costs. Incremental costs. Incremental costs. And remember, incremental costs are, these are costs which are directly associated with the project. Because of these projects, no wonder why we are incurring these costs, like variable costs. Variable costs. Let's say if we are assembling products, we can say assembling costs. Assembling costs. Suppose we are assembling a product, we just say assembling costs. These are now costs, so let me put negative. Negative. Component transfers. Suppose we are transferring components to this project. Component transfers. Let's say the project. Suppose you are transferring components from Zimbabwe to our Botswana project. Notice we convert the amount to Pula. Any incremental fixed costs, if there's any incremental fixed costs, we can take them out like this, incremental fixed costs. If should we have royalties, suppose we have got royalties, management fees, royalties, management fees. Suppose we are charging management fees to the foreign project, or royalties, whatever I call it. We put that figure here. Remember, this is in foreign currency. And then you have tax allowable depreciation. Remember, these are capital allowances. Capital allowances. They are important because we use them when we want to calculate the liability. Notice in my year 0, as of now, there's nothing. I have nothing in year 0, and then I have taxable income. taxable income. Taxable income, it's just the results I get here, and then I say foreign tax at Y%. We don't know, but remember this is still in foreign currency. Here you need to know if tax is paid 1 year in arrears. You still remember what we do? If tax is paid 1 year in arrears, you push it to a year ahead. You get that? And then you then say add back tax allowable depreciation. Why adding back capital allowances? It's because they were just subtracted to calculate tax. And now that we have calculated tax, remember these are non-cash items. These are non-cash items, so we add them back. That. And then you say incremental working capital. All this is in foreign currency. Incremental working capital. But this one starts in year 0. You need working capital in year 0. And remember, normally in year 0 it's negative, but it can be positive or negative, depending on whether it is increasing or decreasing. You remember that, guys? That working capital can be negative or positive, depending on whether it is increasing or decreasing. But normally in the final year, it is recovered. So in the final year, normally we put it as positive. Initial outlay, initial cost. So this is your initial cost. We put it in year 0. If there's any residual value, everything is in foreign currency. Residual value, you put it in the final year if there's any. Now, after you have gotten to this stage, you then say net cash flow. Net cash flow. This was step number 1. Net cash flow. You get that? So this is step number 1. Pay attention. So that's your net cash flows. For year 0, there will be negative and so forth, right? And then what you then do is you then put exchange rate. Normally the exchange rate for the current year is the one which will be given. So the exchange rate, let's say WYZ. These are your exchange rates, WYZ. And then if your domestic currency is now dollars, you now put dollar sign, implying that it's no longer the forex. It's now dollar sign. So I have to put it in bold. This line is important to know that now that you have come to exchange rate, you are now changing the stuff. You then say again net cash flows in domestic currency. Domestic currency. Net cash flows in domestic currency. You now have your figures. If it was negative in foreign currency, it still remain negative in domestic currency. The exchange rate does not change the sign of a currency. So if it was negative on foreign currency, it still remains negative in domestic currency. So most students normally after exchanging, they forget the sign here, that the sign is maintained. Now, these are now housekeeping issues. If we were transferring components to the foreign project, like in this case, these are component transfers. Our project is in Botswana and we were transferring components to Botswana for assembly. You do notice that it's as good as we were selling components. So you can say add contribution on any component transfers. What the heck is this? let me say add contribution on any component transfers from HQ, contribution on any component transfers from head office. So if we transferred components from head office, it's not like this line is always there. It's there when we transferred, like in this case, we transferred. So the transfer price is the cost in Botswana, but contribution is income here. It's income here, but so it's income. You get that? And then add any royalty or management fees. Add any royalty or management fees. Charged to the foreign project. If we are charging management fees to the foreign project, it's a cost to the project, but where is the money going? It's coming to us. So we add it here. And then less domestic tax on contribution and management fees, on contribution and management fees. Notice, because you are selling components or transferring components to Botswana, as far as Zimbabwean government is concerned, these are sales. So what it then implies is Zimbabwe government will tax on the contribution you are earning. So if these two figures here, you are being received because you are transferring components to your Botswana project, but as far as Zimra is concerned, it's a sale. So Zimra will charge, you pay tax on any income you are getting. So the same applies to royalties, management fees, any foreign income that you are receiving as a company, you then get taxed as well. So, but this is no longer foreign tax, it's now local tax. You get that? This is now local tax. And then, because you are doing a foreign project, there might be opportunity cost. Suppose I was busy selling shoes to Botswana, and then I decided to set up an assembly plant in Botswana. It means the sales that I was generating by selling shoes to Botswana, I then lose them. So there is an opportunity cost. So it's less any opportunity cost. Opportunity cost, and it will be net of tax though. Net of tax, e.g. lost contribution. Suppose I was doing business by selling shoes to Botswana, but I decided to set up a project, an assembly plant in Botswana. So there is a lost contribution on that. So what the answer that you get then becomes net cash flow again. It's now revised the net cash flow, but remember we are now working in dollars. What I'm giving you is merely indicative. It's not always the cash flows. These are merely indicative cash flows. And then once you get here, you are done. Then you say NPV at domestic cost of capital. NPV at domestic currency cost of capital. Domestic currency cost of capital. Normally, because it's a foreign project, we encourage it to be risk adjusted. In other words, to accommodate the unique risks which are associated with this particular foreign currency cash flows. Right. So let us have some few NBs because we want to do a question. We want to do a question so that we wrap up. This chapter will be done today anyway. We want to do a question here. So let us have some points to note. Points to note. Like points to note. Write this. Number 1. If the HQ, we mean head office or we mean parent, if the HQ transfers components to the project, if the HQ transfers components to the project, charges royalties to the project, quite a lot, royalties to the project, or even management fees, royalties, etc. The project. These are a cost to the project in foreign currency. These are a cost to the project in foreign currency, in forex, let's say foreign currency. These are a cost to the project in foreign currency, but are then added to domestic currency cash flows, cash flows, net of domestic tax, You get that? The cost, they are a cost to the project in foreign currency, but are then added, like what I was saying here. Only so on component transfers, comma, only after tax contribution is added. After tax contribution is added to domestic currency cash flows. You know, as I am typing on the screen, are you also being challenged to be able to type fast? I do it on purpose. Don't think I just like typing. I am also teaching you to be fast. If I can do it here where I'm giving you lectures in typing, you have to teach yourself to type. This is something that you can teach yourself. So what I'm saying is component transfers and royalties are a cost to the project here in foreign currency. But after you have now converted them, make sure that who was receiving the money. Yes, you were charging this to Botswana project, but where was the money going? The money was coming to you, the same company again. So to you, it was income. So you need then to add it back because it was coming to here to Zimbabwe. So you add it back, but remember, Zim government will then tax you. So we are saying net of domestic tax. Because there are various tax rates that you will be having there. Make sure you know which tax rate to use. If there are restrictions, on remittances, if there are restrictions on remittances of project cash flows to HQ, by HQ we just mean home country or home country. If there are restrictions on remittances of project cash flows to HQ, then the project cash flows are evaluated to the extent to which they are remittable, to the extent to which they are remittable. They are remittable. That's the first important, the most important thing. Here in this particular area, which I have illustrated in yellow, where whenever there are restrictions, in other words, you can't get all the cash flows to your mother country, to your parent country. So what do? You then say, yeah, I want to show you. 1, 2, 3. For example, we have 3 years. You are also copying what I'm saying. There are various ways you can copy or just observe, because it's fine. Copy or just observe, because this video you have it over and over. X forex, your cash flows are, you remember, you are sorting the mess in foreign currency. Your cash flows are in foreign currency, and then you say net cash flows. Net cash flow. This time it's in foreign currency. Foreign currency. Now what you do, let's say X, Y, Z. These are your net cash flows. But remittable cash flows, you don't just say exchange rates. No. If there are restrictions, you then say remittable cash flows. Then you say, e.g., it's 90% of cash flows can only be remitted. Remember, you don't multiply 90% with year 0. Year 0 cash flows are outflows. You don't remit an outflow. So don't say the examiner said 90% of cash flows are remittable. Then you are saying initial outlay times 90%. Do you remit a cash outflow? You remit only inflows, net cash inflows, which are positive, not outflows. So I had the students who were busy multiplying the remittance rate with even initial year 0 cash flows. Just imagine. So the year becomes 0.9x, 0.9y, 0.9z. Are you getting it? I just said e.g. because I know this may not be given. The remittance rate will be given by the examiner, that this government does not allow all the money to be remitted. So once you have net cash flows in foreign currency, what you do is you close that line. We don't use it. After getting net cash flows in foreign currency like this, you close it. Are you not seeing that? We only then convert to the extent to which they are remittable. Then you proceed by saying exchange rate. Exchange rates. Now, exchange rates, if they are not given, you obtain them using transaction, using purchasing power parity or what. So these are the exchange rates now. A, B, C. Now you have your exchange rates, and then you proceed like this. And now you then proceed and say, you then put $sign. So you then say net cash flows. Cash flows. This time it's now domestic. I'm putting $sign because I'm saying the domestic currency is the dollar. If the examiner then says it's Japanese yen, don't put $sign. Put yen. It's not like always it's the dollar. Are you getting? So notice how I have reconstructed this area shaded in yellow. On this part, we just said net cash flows, exchange rates, and convert them to domestic. But if the examiner says only 90% are remittable, after saying net cash flows, take the proportion only which is remittable. That is the one you then exchange to domestic currency. You get that? Then number 3, point to note number 3. If double taxation agreements exist, if double taxation agreement is available, let's say double taxation agreement is available, it implies that the firm can offset foreign taxes paid. It implies that the firm can offset foreign taxes paid. It implies that the firm can offset foreign taxes paid. Against domestic taxes due. The firm can offset foreign taxes paid against domestic taxes due. Right? Write this as illustrated below. So there might be what is called double taxation agreement. No, governments normally enter into double taxation agreements, DTAs. So here are potential scenarios. There's case 1, there's case 2, and there's case 3. Are the potential scenarios for double taxation agreements. Case 1, case 2, case 3. Right? So there you go. So if it's Zimbabwe and government and Botswana. Let's say domestic tax. Let's say domestic tax is 20% on case 1, 15% on case 2, 30% on case 3. Let's now say foreign tax. Now foreign tax, let's say on case 1 foreign tax is 20%, on case 2 foreign tax is 22%, on case 3 foreign tax is 20%. Now what then do we do? Remember Botswana, or in from our cash flow analysis, you paid tax to Botswana government at Y%. And this tax is what we are referring to as foreign tax. The tax you paid to Botswana government at Y% there. So let us now see how Zimbabwe government will do your thing. This is now Zimbabwe government. So notice this tax was levied on foreign currency cash flows. It was levied on these cash flows, which are actually highlighted in blue. The foreign tax was levied on taxable income. So if this income is now received by Zimbabwe government, I mean, if you then receive income, Zimbabwe government will see, we will consider that income and say, did you actually pay the tax which you were supposed to pay? Now, if there is a double taxation relief, the same taxable income here will also be taxed in Zimbabwe, but we offset this tax liability with foreign tax paid. So it will be like this. Under case 1, there is no additional. So let's say, do we have to pay additional domestic tax? Do we have to pay additional domestic tax? Can I, if I'm asking my question like this, on case 1, now this is domestic tax on taxable income. Remember, tax is not charged on cash flows, but on taxable income. Do we have to pay additional domestic tax on taxable income. Please, just whisper to yourself that you are understanding this. This is the same tax income which was taxed in foreign currency. We also consider that here in Zimbabwe. Under case 1, no. Under case 1, why no? Because the foreign tax was, domestic tax is 20, foreign tax paid was 20. So if you offset foreign tax with domestic, you will notice you won't pay additional. Under case 2, again, it's no. Reason, foreign tax was 22%, domestic tax is 15%, so you ended up actually paying more. So we don't then say the same taxable income, let us tax you the same amount. So under case 3, it's yes. Why yes under case 3? It's because you paid 20% in Botswana, but if that income was earned here, you were supposed to pay 30%. So under case 3, you then pay 10% additional tax paid domestic government. So what do you do now? It means you multiply 10% with foreign taxable income, and convert to domestic, because you are now paying Zim government, and then convert to domestic currency. This part is so important. If you allow me to bold it and put it in yellow, in green. Now, what do we do? Suppose you now realize that Zim government still need its 10% after we have offset foreign tax with domestic tax. You need to do this. Remember, this carry a lot of marks. The points I'm talking about here, they are like saviors in this particular question. So if foreign tax is lower than domestic tax, it means you still have to pay additional foreign tax. So after you have come up with something like this, a good question that you ask is, say, where do I put additional domestic tax? Do I put it on cash flows whilst they are in foreign currency, or in cash flows whilst they are in domestic currency? Clearly, this is additional domestic tax. So it is recorded when cash flows are now in domestic currency. So you then have to, amongst this area here, you then have to insert and say additional domestic tax if there's any. If in this case, there will be, if it is case 3, there will be. So 10%, you multiply it by this taxable income. Remember, the tax is charged on the same amount which was taxed. So you multiply it by this taxable income, and then you then convert it, because the answer you get if you multiply with this line is still in foreign currency. So, but it's domestic. But if you multiply 10% by this figure, you get it in foreign currency. So you then have to convert it to domestic currency for you to put it here. So you can do it as a separate working, still fine. All right. What else do I have to say? Significant assumptions. You know, significant assumptions. There are various assumptions when we are evaluating a project in foreign currency. Whenever you are evaluating a project in foreign currency, these are significant assumptions. Remember, your questions always talk about assumptions. There is a question which always asks about assumptions. Like even in this paper, I notice evaluating assumptions made, 8 marks. That was number 1. Assumptions made. So always the examiner will always give you a question where there is something to do with assumptions made. Assumptions made. This was on mergers and acquisitions question. Comment on the finance director's consent. So there's an element of discussion of the assumptions made. So I need to list significant assumptions one by one. So the assumption, the first assumption is, exchange rates. That's the first one. Exchange rates, comma, inflation rates, comma, interest rates, comma, cash flow forecasts. Cash flow forecasts. I said the exchange rate, inflation rate, interest rate, cash flow forecasts are assumed to be accurate. Are assumed to be. Make sure this assumption you put it there. Are you not seeing, Takura? I haven't. It's a single assumption, so don't say there's an assumption on exchange rate, assumption on inflation rate, assumption on no. Otherwise, you'll be writing the same thing. It's a single assumption. You just say inflation rate, interest rate, cash flow forecasts are assumed to be accurate. From that point, this can be validated by undertaking. You can actually validate this by undertaking sensitivity analysis of project cash flows. You can validate this by undertaking sensitivity analysis of project cash flows. So are you not seeing what I have done here is called discussion of an assumption? I have stated an assumption and I have discussed it. Another assumption is foreign government will last over the duration of the project. Foreign government will last over the duration of the project. Foreign government will last over the duration of the project. This is an important assumption. This is an important assumption. The foreign government is assumed to last over the duration of the project. Because if this is not the case, your project will notice. If you write it like this, you have just stated an assumption. The question says discuss. You then say management must assess if this is the case. If this is the case, management must assess if this is the case because they will affect project cash flows. You get that? Another assumption is can start immediately and last for a given number of years, for given years with no option to delay, expand or abandon or dispose it prior to its completion. Right. So this is an issue of real options. This is now an issue of real options on that particular project. You can assume that the project can start immediately and last for a given number of years with no options. So if you write a statement like this, you have just stated an assumption. If the question says discuss and you then state it like this and move on, you don't get full marks. You then say management That now discussion. Management must ensure that if such options exist, such options exist, comma, they be valued using Black-Scholes option pricing model, BISMOP, Black-Scholes model of option pricing. They be valued using Black-Scholes model of option pricing, and the option value adjusts NPV estimate. This is stating an assumption and discussing. You know, when you are discussing it, you don't overdo it. You don't over discuss. It's a single sentence, a single secondary sentence is ideal to discuss an assumption. Another, it's project must be consistent with the AFM's ethical stance. Foreign project must be in consistent with the firm's ethical stance to avoid damage to the firm's reputation by association. Damage to the firm's reputation by association. You know, you must ensure that this foreign project is consistent with the firm's ethical stance to avoid damage to the firm's reputation by association. Then another, number five is the cost of capital used. Cost of capital used reflects risks associated with the project. Cost of capital used reflects the risks associated with the project. If not, notice I'm now discussing. If I end there, it says I have stated, and then I'm now discussing and say, if not, management must use project-specific cost of capital. Management need to use project-specific cost of capital. Management must use project-specific cost of capital. Another point, all project cash flows are assumed to be remittable. All project cash flows are assumed to be remittable. If not, comma, cash flows should be evaluated to the extent to which they are remittable. Should be evaluated to which they are remittable. Right? You now understand all this. Another point is the foreign government is assumed to agree to the transfer price of components components, HQ charges to the foreign project, to the foreign. That's another thing. We assume that the price of components that we are charging to the foreign project, the foreign government will agree to this. You get that? So all these are the assumptions. Make sure, actually, only that my camera is not, I don't know what it is, it's acting up today. Actually, when it comes to theory, you can't be my student and ignore theory in an exam. Because at your level, we don't necessarily mark, though we know computations matter, but remember the audience of your report is the board. And the board is really interested in your workings. No wonder why you relegate them to the appendices. The board is concerned about synthesizing your workings. In other words, communicating your workings in a manner that convicts the board to act based on your advice, to relay to the board the implications of what you have obtained. All right. So you know what? If you take point number 3, that if there are options embedded, remember real options. If you haven't played the video on a real option, by now you are doing yourself a disservice. If you are yet to play the video on a real option, the use of real option in investment appraisal. I know they like Thelma, I gave you the videos recently, but you might be an exception and also Mobi. But the rest, don't even say I know this. Please play it again and make sure you understand it. Because that assumption there, which says the project is assumed to start immediately and last for a given period of time with no options. If the options are available, then they use the values to adjust the NPV estimate. That point there, it at your level, we don't just want you to say, we don't just want you to say, because the NPV is negative, so let us reject. You know, if you conclude like that, you are no different from an A-level student. NPV is negative, so let us no. You know that NPV is just a financial case of the project. There is, when you are going in other markets, in other countries to do projects, it's called a strategic direction. It's a strategy that you have pursued. A strategy is not evaluated purely from financial case. We also evaluate from the strategic sense, because suppose this particular project, what is it that we shall do after 4 years matters. Now we have undertaken a project in Botswana. We are now close to the market. Remember, we were exporting to Botswana. Now we are in Botswana. So we are now close. We are now close to raw materials, if any. So we can even extend our product life cycle by going there. Look at all that. Don't just say NPV is negative. So suppose this project we were given tender by government. Suppose it was a dam construction. We were busy constructing dams. Suppose this was a tender given to us by government and we said it's a 4-year thing. Then you need also to understand what will happen after the 4 years. What if government is happy? What if government is happy with our performance after 4 years, and then it gives us tenders to do with road construction, bridge constructions? These are potential follow-on projects that we undertake is given us as a negative NPV. So are you noticing, teacher owner? That's how a manager advises. I don't want a situation where at your level you is negative, so reject. You know, these are areas where examiners are fond of, because they tell you in the first paragraph, they say they want to invest in D-land, and it is a developing country. It does have quite a lot of projects in the public sector which are it's accepting tenders from foreign companies and stuff. You'll be told that in the first in the introductory parts, but unfortunately, when you are now concluding, you seem to forget everything that we were told at the stop there. That even if this project is a negative NPV, but this is merely your case. What about a broader strategy for the firm to go into foreign markets, considering that they are the follow-on projects? And these follow-on projects, we call them real option, an option to expand. That's a follow-on project. And you understand that after you have, management must consider, you need to examine that who get 92 on the same paper, because the student who gets 60 waits for the examiner to ask a question on options. The student who gets 90 sets the exam for himself or herself. Begin to discuss, because this government is acting a lot. So even if what we are given for stardom is a negligible, a negative NPV of 0.5, but can we really say we don't want to go there if we are given this strategic, a broader strategic picture for this particular company? You need to ask yourself that. Don't just say negative NPV, reject, as if you are still an A-level student. So I have given you assignments. I'm sure you have received assignments. If you haven't, don't worry. I'll check with my phone later and address all your issues. Don't. But those assignments, I want you to them like managers. Don't answer assignments like you are doing financial management, like we are doing F9 or something. No, look at how I'm teaching. Imagine if I was teaching you the way you do. So if the answer is no, so do you think the examiner is the one who, okay. Today it's now 9. We are almost an hour to get to our lecture. Let us try to answer this. Mobi, I'm seeing you. You can unmute and talk to yourself. So I'm in 2015 similar question, like me. All the questions I get PPP revision kits. And from you know, if you can't, if you haven't received or what, I then have to, you know. So I am saying, in our assignments, I have already sent a question for foreign projects with Shimura. The question is on Shimura. You see that question. It's even Omegan. I don't know how I've referenced it. You can, after doing, start with that. It's a 50-mark question. Your assignment has got 600 and 780 marks. Are then due on the 23rd. You can see there that there's plenty of, I can access them on the go. So don't think I will wait until, because if you answer one question today, I will see it. If you answer the other question tomorrow, I will see it. So as you are answering them, I will be tracking progress and identifying areas where you are having challenges. And then immediately, we'll then discuss that. Okay. I've sent the question. It's in our WhatsApp chat group. You can access it from there. June 2015, question number 1. It's again in the revision kit. So if you've got a printed copy of the revision kit, you can as well have it. Still fine. Okay. So you'd notice last week's lecture, we did all these questions. Remember, all these questions. So you see, we want to start from this June 2015 to date all the questions. You may ask and say, is that achievable? Yes. That's the reason why I gave you the assignments. Because the assignments are an attempt to ensure that everything studyable at our disposal, we consummate it. Now, Yilandwe company. So allow me to read in the interest of time. So today, please be prepared that we end at, say, we can end at, say, 9, around 9:15 or so. Judging, this is a 50-mark question, so it will be somewhere around 1 hour 30 from now. So, but we are left with almost an hour, so be prepared to end around 9:15. Yilandwe, whose currency is the Yilandwe rand, has faced extremely difficult economic challenges in the past 25 years because of some questionable economic policies and political decisions. Are you not seeing? You are given all these things, Tichaona. They are important as part of your answer. All these are important as part. Don't just say your answer is simply domiciled on what you have calculated. No. Although Ilandwe's population is generally poor, its people are nevertheless well educated and ambitious, like Zimbabweans. We are poor, but they never underestimate our education, and we are ambitious, and God is around the corner for us. Okay, I'm seeing something. Is that? Well, I thought it's in our chat group. Okay, so yeah, let me continue reading. Just over 3 years, a new government took office, and since then it has imposed a number of strict monetary and fiscal controls. Notice all this we are told. Don't ignore this as part of your answer, including annual corporation tax rate of 40%. So tax rate, if Ilandwe is our foreign government, its tax rate is 40%. As a result, annual rate of inflation has fallen rapidly from 65% to the current level of 33%. These strict monetary and fiscal controls have made the Ilandwe government popular in the larger cities and towns, but less popular in rural areas, meaning it is popular in larger cities and towns, but less popular in rural areas. All this information is, I'm seeing, let me see this communication in our Skype. Oh, well, it's from Grace. It's okay. I'll talk to Grace later. All right. Okay, So continuing, it is expected that Zimbabwe's annual inflation rate will continue to fall in the coming few years as follows. Year 1, 22%, year 2, 14.7%, and year 3 onwards, 9.8%. Zimbabwe government has decided to continue the progress made so far by encouraging foreign direct investment into the country. Recently, government representatives held trade shows internationally and offered businesses a number of concessions, including, so this is what they are doing, 0% tax rate for the first 2 years. You know, even though tax rate in Zimbabwe is 40%, but for the first 2 years they don't tax. That's what it means. An opportunity to carry forward tax losses and write them off against profits made after 2 years. Now this is basic English. In the first 2 years, you are not taxed. But suppose in the first 2 years, there was a tax loss. In other words, you didn't make a profit. That loss will reduce future taxable profits. You carry it forward. Before you tax future profits, you first deduct the loss you made in the first 2 years. So the government representatives also promised international companies investing in land with prime locations in towns and cities with good transport links. Now, Imoni company. This is now our company. That was about government. Now, Imoni company. Imoni company is a large listed company based in the USA with the dollar as its currency and manufactures high-speed diagnostic components for machinery which it exports worldwide. After attending one of the trade shows, Imoni is considering setting up an assembly plant in Ilandwe where parts would be sent and assembled. Where parts would be sent, meaning there are transfers there, where parts would be sent and assembled into a specific type of a component which is currently being assembled in USA, meaning there's a component transfers there. Once assembled, the component will be exported directly to companies based in the European Union. These will be invoiced in euros. So we have a company in USA. It wants to set up an assembly plant in Ilandwe, and then it exports to Europe. So there are three currencies. There's Ilandwe rand, there is dollar, and there's euro. But the domestic currency is the dollar, because it is domestic currency is the HQ currency, headquarters currency, the currency of the company in question. Now, assembly plant in Ilandwe, financial and other projections. It is initially assumed that the project will last for 4 years. The 4-year project will require will require investments of 21 million in land and buildings, 18,000 million. It is like 18 billion. That's how you read it. In machinery and 9.6 billion in working capital. All these are Ilandwe rands. Working capital is needed to be increased annually at the start of each of the next 3 years by Ilandwe inflation rate. It is assumed that this will be released at the end of the project's life. It can be assumed that the assembly plant can be built very quickly and production started almost immediately. Notice, all these are assumptions. So when the examiner says, give me the assumptions, don't say, I am running short of assumptions. It is assumed. Already the examiner is assuming. So you can't say if the examiner is assumed and then you leave that point in your assumptions. I don't know. You are told that it is assumed that working capital will be released at the end of the project's life. It's another assumption. This is because, so we are assuming that we can build and start immediately. This is because the basic facilities and infrastructure are already in place, as the plant will be built on premises and grounds of a school. The school is ideally located near the main highway and railway lines. As a result, the school will close and the children currently studying there will be relocated to other schools. So they want to use school premises and relocate students to nearby schools. You know, they've got an ethical issue there. there's an ethical issue there. How can you use the school and chase students away? Now we are being told that the government has kindly agreed to provide free buses to take children to nearby schools for the period of 6 months. It's just for the period of 6 months to give parents time to arrange appropriate schools for their children. So government will offer transport to relocate schools to nearby children to nearby schools just for 6 months. And after 6 months, we don't know what will happen. So that's a risk. After 6 months, who knows? Parents may begin to say, no, let the company now begin to transport. The current selling price for each component is 700, and this is likely to increase by EU's inflation from year 1 onwards. The number of components expected to be sold every year are as follows. So these are the components expected to be sold every year. Parts needed to assemble the components will be sent from USA by money. Okay, so there are components being sent from USA by money at a cost of $200 per component. Remember, this is US dollars, from which money currently earns a pre-tax contribution of what? So we are, as I told you, that when we are transferring components to Botswana, we are transferring them, but we are also making profit. So our Zim government, it considers that a sale, and it will tax us on the contribution. So currently, the price is 200. Then we are told that, however, Imoni feels that it can negotiate with Ilandwe to increase the transfer price to 280. You know, again, there is the word feel. Imoni feels, meaning this is an assumption. So don't say I'm not seeing where I can pick assumptions. All these are assumptions. When they say the price, we will sell to Europe at 700, and this price is likely to increase. And now it's another assumption there. It's another assumption because we are not sure. Now, variable, so currently the components will be transferred to Ilandwe, but their price is 200, but they are saying they can transfer them at 280. So what does this statement mean? If I can edit my document, if you allow me to edit it. You know what that statement means? It means, oh sorry, let me actually add text. Right. You know what that statement means? It means transfer price, let me change color. It means transfer price. The price is now what? Yes, $280. That's what it means. And they are saying when the transfer price was 200, they were earning contribution of 40. What if we increase it to 280? It's now transfer price is now 280, and pre-tax contribution it will also increase by 80. If you increase the price, remember you increase contribution. The reason being pre-tax contribution increases to 40 plus 80 have increased, which is equals to 120. So that's what it means there. That's exactly what it means. All right. Let me proceed. Now, they are saying, we are also told here, let me drag it like this, that variable costs related to assembling of the components in Ilandwe are currently 15,960 per component. The current annual fixed costs are 4,600,000, meaning this is not per unit. All these costs, wherever incurred, will increase. They are likely to increase by that country's inflation from year 1 onwards. So they are likely to increase by that country's inflation from year 1 onwards. So there you go. Imoni company, this is now US, pays corporate tax at 20%. That's domestic tax. Foreign tax is 40%. Domestic is 20%. So what it means is, if there's a double, now they say the tax in both US and Ireland are payable in the year in which liability arises. In other words, we don't put 1 year ahead. A bilateral tax treaty, bilateral means double taxation treaty. That's double taxation agreement. Because bi means double. So don't say the examiner should always say double. The examiner can say bi. Bi means two, double means two. So in the north, when we say double taxation, the examiner then says bilateral treaty. It's still saying the same thing. A bilateral tax treaty exists between Ireland and the USA. The tax allowable depreciation is on machinery. On machinery. Key thing is it's not 25% on all assets. So you need to flip back and check. Machinery is 18,000. Here you are. So tax allowable depreciation is 25% on machinery on a straight line basis. So what it means there is you can then say, you can then put it here and say 25%, that's 0.25 times 18,123, which is equals to 1/4 of 18, that's 4,500. 4,500, that's the tax allowable depreciation. 500. You get that? The money to expect royalties from the assembly plant to be made every year. The normal annual royalty fee, meaning normal royalty fee, is 20 million. But Imoni that it can negotiate with this. If they say Imoni feels, it means it's an assumption. That's an assumption. It's not a statement of fact. Imoni feels that it can negotiate this with the Ireland government and increase the royalty fee by 80%. So currently, a royalty is 20. They feel that they can increase it by 80%. So a royalty becomes 20 million. These are dollars. 20 million plus 80%, which is equals to 36 million. Royalties are now 36, and they are saying once agreed, this royalty will not be subject to any inflationary increase in the project's 4-year period. So royalty is not being expected to increase, so that would be fine. Then, if Imoni does decide to invest in the assembly plant, its exports to US will fall, meaning its exports to EU will fall. So this means its opportunity cost. Because we are being told that if we invest in the assembly plant, our exports will fall, meaning we will incur opportunity cost. That's what it means. It's an opportunity cost that we are going to incur, and this opportunity cost is going to be in these particular amounts. So these are the amounts that we will incur, like 20,000 etc. Imoni normally uses cost of capital of 9%. However, the finance director suggests that Imoni should use a project-specific discount rate of 12% instead. So we are not even told that this project, does it really capture the risks? It's an assumption. So these are the future exchanges. So concerning exchange rates, these are the current exchange rates, meaning the current ones, you use them for year 0 cash flows. And then year 1, 2, 3, you use them for the subsequent cash flows. Now, the question is, A, discuss the possible benefits and drawbacks to Imoni of setting up its own assembly plant in Ireland compared to licensing a company based in Ireland to undertake the assembly on its behalf. So this one now is a knowledge question. This is a technical knowledge question. What do I mean? It's a technical knowledge question, meaning what we are asking you there is from knowledge brought forward. Illustration. We have got June 22, 2015, question 1. Question 1. So you notice A says benefits of setting assembly plant compared to licensing. Benefits of setting assembly plant compared to licensing. Benefits of setting up an assembly plant compared to licensing. This is merely knowledge brought. I want you to make use of the chat feature. Imoni is
Hello,
saying we can go to Ilandwe.
Say,
We can go to Ilandwe. Yes. Hello.
I cannot see your screen.
Well, it's I'm not sharing it. Are you seeing it now?
No, I can't see it.
Normally, if you are not seeing it, it will
Yes,
be. You can now see it. Okay,
Yes.
fine. Now,
Okay.
notice the question is saying, discuss the benefits and drawbacks to Imoni of setting up assembly plant in Ilandwe compared to licensing another company which is there to undertake assembly on its behalf. Now, I want you to make use of the chat feature, bottom right here, bottom right. I want you to type the benefits that you think Imoni will get if it sets its own assembly plant in Ilandwe as compared to licensing a company which is already there. Can you make use of the chat feature here? Type. I'm waiting for you to type. On your screen here, on your screen, bottom right, there's a tab written chat. Can you click on that and begin typing? What are the benefits do you think we get if we set up our own assembly plant in another country rather than licensing? This is not AFM questions. And examiners, they want these questions answered. Don't think, you know what? If you leave this question unanswered, you are telling the examiner that perhaps you were not grounded in your earlier studies. You are selling yourself out. From that moment onwards, the examiner has now another perception of you. How on earth can't you come up with benefits of setting up your assembly plant as compared to licensing someone to do it on your behalf? This is an easy question. Can you type, guys? I'm waiting. Only one person is typing. I'm only seeing one person typing. Can you type? Benefits of setting up assembly plant as compared to setting your own to doing it yourself. I'm saying also benefits of setting an assembly plant as compared to licensing someone who is there to do it on your behalf. So the first answer is Imoni will be able to maintain the quality of their products, whereas with licensing, it may result in quality being compromised. Correct? Are you not seeing that? These are the questions that we assume knowledge here, and we want these answered in an exam. All right? So quality is maintained. 2 is okay. Okay. I'm here to get another. Right? I'm seeing people typing, so that's great. Thelma, are you there? Okay. Product quality still correct? Correct. So quality, you are writing on quality. I now need another answer. Benefits of setting your own assembly plant as compared to licensing someone who is there to do it on your behalf. right? I can see it. What satisfies me is to see you typing. Imoni will be able to protect trade secrets. Yes, because normally if you license someone, that company may end up being competitor. So this one is correct. Imoni will be able to maintain trade secrets. Imoni will have full control over the operations of the company. Correct? Right? Another answer. Oh, well, Chichona, you may just press enter so that I move on to that. Just press enter. License cost can be huge in such a way that Imoni may not be able to recover if the project fails. You know, when you this one you know, if Imoni is licensing, it is the one which is receiving the money. If I license you to do something, you are the one who pay me for the license cost. I don't pay you. Suppose I license you to teach under Atlant Resources. You are actually the one who pay me for the license cost because it's like a franchise. It's like a franchise. You are paying for the use. So this one, yeah, it's you have thought as if Imoni is the one which is paying the license. No, it is actually receiving money. If it's licensed to someone, it will be receiving. Now other points are like this. Other points are case specific. Issues to do with, I like points, the points you have written are correct. The other points I like are these ones. Like, government has offered tax concessions to foreigners. So if Imoni goes to Ilandwe, it is going to benefit from these tax concessions, like 0% tax rate for the first 2 years. Always, I want answers which are from the case. It is going to benefit from 0% tax rate for the first 2 years. This facility here is not available to outsiders. This facility is not available to outsiders. Another thing is, you know, Imoni is currently producing these products in the USA and they are being exported worldwide. So, and they want them assembled in Ilandwe. So perhaps Ilandwe has got cheap labor because we are told that the population of Ilandwe is poor, but is poor but ambitious. So Ilandwe, Imoni will get access to cheap labor. You know what? When we were 2 in this exam, and my points are case specific, your points are generalized points. They are correct, but they are not robust. They are correct, but they are not robust because at your level, we mark application. We don't mark demonstration of knowledge, but application of it. So it is exactly what I was saying when I was saying students tend to ignore what they were given at the top here. So if what you were given here, you ignore it, in what way then are you advising directors of Imoni? The points you were writing, to a large extent, they are called general points, meaning even if we don't give you Imoni, you can still know those points. But this time you are advising Imoni, meaning make sure you contextualize your points to the facts that we have given you. That makes you a professional consultant. Okay. Yeah, you have your say. I understand you have gotten that part. You have already gotten that part. But the other parts, I like it that trade secrets. Yes, trade secrets are kept because currently, you know, you said humanities will be able to keep trade secrets. Try to relate it to the case. Try to relate it to the case. So you'd say from USA, if you money then licenses, it is producing in the USA and exporting worldwide. If it then licenses, chances are trade secrets may leak and they may proliferate the market. And Imon may end up losing its competitive advantage. I want you to try by all means to contextualize it, not to write a general answer. On that part, can you just type, I have heard you say, noted. Can you type noted? I just want that feedback, because it's so important when you're answering it at your level to apply, even though the points you're writing is correct, but it's so important also to apply, because application is what we give you marks for. Right. Okay. It's okay. I just great. The two, it's okay. I just wanted you to tell me that you have gotten that part right. And then the other question says, prepare a report which evaluates the financial acceptability of the investment in assembly plant in Ilandwe, 21 marks, discusses the assumptions made in producing the estimates and other risks which Imoni company should consider before making a final decision. Notice the amount of marks allocated to question B. Just consider this. I like it. Allow me to highlight it. I actually like it. You know, question B, I like it. Why I like question B? You can see, because it's discussion, and I told you how I like discussion. Provide a reasoned recommendation on whether or not Imon company should invest in the assembly plant in Ilandwe. Right? So there you go. These parts, I am highlighting them because I like them. I am Yose who likes theory. Are you not seeing that? Part B3, which says the reasoned recommendation, this part is what I was saying, teacher on, where you are now analyzing both financial case, which was in A, and the strategic case, where you are now bringing in your skills in SBR, your skills on the benefits of doing it yourself as compared to licensing. You are now summing up everything. That's what we call reasoned recommendation. Now, when you are writing this, answering this, remember you use word processor, but I'm going to use Excel. Because I can't be shifting to word Excel. So you say to report to the directors of report to the directors of Ilandwe. To the directors of Imon. Please, the way I'm doing it, that's how you'll be doing it. But remember, this time you'll be writing it in the word processor. I'm doing it in an Excel because for convenience purposes. From you normally you give yourself a title. If you say from management accountant, let's say you are the management accountant. Date. You can give date your report, or you can reference your report, because perhaps this might be your report number 2 of 2021, and then you have subject. The subject of this report is basically assembly plant in Ilandwe. There's nothing much. Assembly plant in Ilandwe. Please, I won't teach you again how to write a report. This will be my last time I will be discussing about it, because this is something you are used to from your SBL, from your other subjects. You now know how a report is prepared. Assembly plant in Ilandwe. So you then have your introduction and say this report first evaluates the financial acceptability of investing in assembly plant in Ilandwe. The second section of the report, provides. The second section of the report provides. Or let's say the second section of the report, instead of saying provides, let's say discusses the assumptions made in producing cash flow estimates, as well as other risks to be considered before a final decision is made. Lastly, the report gives a reasoned recommendation concerning the investment. Okay. You can say, where were you getting all this from? Introduction is a matter of joining the questions given with your intelligently joining the questions given. Introduction is you are not thinking outside the box. You are just joining the questions given. That's what I've just done here. Then you say 1. These are now the sections of your report. 1, 2, 3. So in your report, remember this is being done on the word processor. Then I say 1. Financial acceptability the investment. So what I then do is, because it's a report, I know that examiners, they want me to put my workings in the appendices. I don't put our workings in the word processor. So what do? I say computations in appendix 1 indicates the project is financially I just need the word acceptable or not acceptable. So I'm leaving the space for the word not. Suppose it's not, then acceptable, it will be. If I realize it's acceptable, so there won't be any need for me to type not. Acceptable is evidenced by A. I'm leaving the word positive or negative here. I'm leaving space for positive or negative. NPV of, and I put my dash millions. I haven't calculated anything. As far as 27 marks is concerned for this part, because there is a reasoned recommendation, so I will put my other strategic issues on the recommendation. And then notice already I say 2. I'm doing the word processor. Risks, assumptions made, assumptions made, and other risks to be considered. Now, when you're looking for assumptions, look for these words. Every time you're looking for assumptions, look for these. if they say it is assumed, it's an assumption. If they say believe, assumption. If they say feels, it's an assumption. If they say suggest, it's an assumption. If they say expect, it's an assumption. If they say oh well, etc. Any word which is not premised on fact, it's an assumption. So I was analyzing this, but I gave you the bold assumptions, the basic assumptions that you need to. These are significant assumptions in a question for project appraisal, whether it's in foreign country or not. But notice these are significant assumptions. But some are not. Some are only available for a foreign project, but some for a project which may not be foreign. So notice I have given you these assumptions in the notes, so I copied them and pasted them here. So you can still, these assumptions, they still apply here. For example, exchange rate, comma, interest rate, comma, inflation rates, and cash flow forecasts are assumed to be accurate. The validity of this assumption can be made by undertaking sensitivity analysis of the project's cash flows. So I am stating and discussing. Are you not seeing that? Foreign governments, so when you are discussing assumptions, don't number them, but rather put each assumption on its own paragraph, or just leave a space for every assumption you are putting. Foreign government is assumed to last over the duration of the project. Management must assess if this is the case. Notice here, this current government was elected 3 years ago. You have it here. No wonder why I said all this information is relevant. Don't leave it out. The government was elected 3 years ago, but the project is a life of 4 years. So are we then saying this government will last for 7 years? Because if we say so management must, so when I say management must assess if this is the case, I'm not saying don't write like management must assess if this is the case. No, you need to tell them that this current government was elected 3 years ago. It is highly unlikely that a government may last for 7 years, because this project has got 4 years. So 3 plus 4 will equal to 7. So management must consider the risks, potential risk that it is exposed to should there be a change in government. This is called application of knowledge. Okay, another point is, the project can start immediately and last for a given years with no option to delay. So you don't say given years now. You are now saying 4 years with no option to delay or expand or even dispose the project prior to its completion. Then management must ensure that if such options exist, so this one you can take it as it is. Then now we are saying we are going to use the school and relocate current students to nearby schools. Isn't this going to tarnish our reputation? The local community, is it going to consider this as ethical? We need to consider that. And the cost of capital, the finance director has just said, is going to use cost of capital of 12%. Does this particular cost of capital captures the risks? Because no information is given as to whether this project specific cost of capital, does it really capture all the risks associated with this particular project? And then another thing is, the assumption is that all cash flows are remittable. And we need to evaluate as management that this is the position. Otherwise, we then have to evaluate cash flows to the extent to which they are remittable. Then we are expecting to increase transfer price of components and even to increase royalties. And assuming that the Ilandwe government will agree to such an increase. So management must also consider if the Ilandwe government is going to agree, and should new government also arise, is it going to agree to these previously agreed tax concessions and transfer price increases? You have to consider all that. And then another point that you consider is remember, Yilandwe is outside the EU, and all these firms' products are to be sold to EU. So the question now is, EU is an economic union. It's a trading bloc on its own. And you know, when you are selling goods to EU, they may come up with policies which may say non-EU countries can sell to us. So if Ilandwe is outside the EU and is undertaking the assembly, chances are goods from Ilandwe may be banned from accessing the EU. So that's another risk that they have to consider, because EU is a trading bloc and policies for such a customs and economic union, they change over time. Aren't they being expected to remain as they are over the 4-year period? Notice how I have answered it. Even the examiner can know that I am an ACCA student. Even the examiner can tell that I have done F1 to P4. I have done F1 to P4. It's now clear to the examiner. Even if I am about to perform workings and I make mistakes, the examiner can tell. So now another thing I want you to know, and it's important. Are you not seeing we have answered A and B1? So already we have got 22 marks. 22 marks without answering B, without working. Already we are at 22 mark zone without working. So you then say reasoned recommendation. Even if you are yet to, because this is a report, you then say reasoned recommendation. Reasoned recommendation. Okay. Allow me to just call someone just now. right? Sorry guys for that. Okay. And I was saying, notice, I haven't calculated. And the beauty, the beauty of typing assumptions and stuff before you calculate, it's because you can type it whilst your mind is together. And then you then say recent recommendations, and then you say the firm should. Notice I haven't done any working. The firm should, if I'm just leaving, oh, sorry. Thought I was typing. The firm should, my mic is now on, yeah, correct. The firm should, I'm just leaving the space for, I will put note if the need arises, then invest, because I haven't worked, so I'm leaving some dots to finish off later. Invest in assembly plant in Ilandwe, right? However, decision is evaluated in light of assumptions discussed, as well as risks and other issues identified. Two, in the second part of the report. You get that? Thank you. Don't write something. Don't say for any issues. Don't hesitate to contact me. Just say thank you. Signed. Sign there. Then notice I don't want any working in the report. Tashinga, can you unmute and tell me that my report is neat? Can you unmute and tell me that point? I just need to hear it from you.
Yeah, very neat, sir.
Right. Notice, this is something I can present to the board. And the board, it is this which the board wants. And then, just to complement this, I then say appendices. But remember, I said this was in the word processor. So I just chose to use the spreadsheet for convenience. So appendices is now, you open the spreadsheet response option and say appendix 1. Appendix 1, you then say NPV estimate. NPV estimate for the investment and in Ilandwe. Now this is another country. Remember, we are Imoni. So the project has got 4 years. This is now the last part of our working. We are about to wrap it up. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because tax is paid in the year in which investment arises. So this is Ilandwe Rand million. I told you that's what you do. Ilandwe Rand millions, because you first evaluate everything in foreign currency. So you say sales, and then you say components. The components are being transferred from US, and after being transferred, they are being assembled, and we do have fixed costs, and then we are also paying royalties. Notice, all this is because I was saying it when I was reading the question. So that's where I saw it. And then you then say tax allowable depreciation. You know, this we have already calculated it as 4.5. Then you then say taxable income. Taxable income. Taxable income. Taxable income. Then there is tax at, in the first year it's 0%. Second year it's 0%. Third year now it's 40%. Actually, before I say taxable income, because I am being told that there's an opportunity to carry forward tax loss. So if I make a tax loss in year 1 or year 2, there's an opportunity that tax loss is carried forward. So I can say carry forward tax loss because I haven't worked it out. If there's nothing, I will leave the line blank. Carry forward tax loss. Because the government is promising me that if I make a loss, I will carry it forward, meaning it will reduce profits after the first 2 years. So after I carry forward the tax loss, I then have a revised figure here. So this figure here, taxable income, is the sum of everything. It is the sum of everything. Never mind it putting some zeros there, right? Putting some figures. So I can, for now, I can just put delete. So carry forward the tax loss. If there's any tax loss, I then say equals. Oh, sorry. I then say if there's any tax loss carried forward, I then say equals this plus any loss tax carried forward, which I'll put here. Because I'm just coming up with my formula, you'll notice it will finish, it will add everything up. Then I say tax at first year 0%, second year 0%, third year 40%, fifth year 40%. You may do it like this in an exam, but it's still fine. So you say equals 0.4 times x. It is starting from third and fourth year. Then what do? I then say add back tax allowable depreciation. Tax allowable depreciation. So what I'm going to do here is to add back the capital allowances that I have there. Is to add them back here. And then carry forward the tax loss. Remember, carry forward the tax. If I make a tax loss, it will reduce taxable profits for future years, but it's a non-cash item. It's like capital allowances. Capital allowances are deducted, but they are a non-cash item. So they were just deducted for us to calculate tax. Now that we have calculated tax, we then have to add them back. No wonder why we say add back capital allowances. We also say add back tax loss. The reason is tax loss was just deducted in order for us to calculate tax, but we then have to add it back. So you say equals minus. We have put tax loss there. So I'm saying equals minus because the figure was minus. So if I say equals minus, it is then added back. And then I say incremental working capital. Incremental working capital. And then I say initial outlay. So cost. What else do I put? After I put all this, I then tally them up. So what I'm doing is I am adding this line here up to here. All right. And then this is the the sum. So I do the same both ways. This is now net cash flow. Net cash flow. And then after saying net cash flow, what did I say? These cash flows are in Ilandwe, and I want to convert them to dollars. So the exchange rate that I use is the Ilandwe Rand dollar exchange rate, because there are quite a lot of other exchange rates. Ilandwe Rand dollar exchange rate. So I say exchange rate. The exchange rate is Ilandwe Rand / dollar. So can I put the exchange rates here? Ilandwe Rand per dollar. Year 0, you take the current here, 101.4. That's year 0, 101.4. Then year 1 is what? Can someone unmute and talk to me in the interest of time? 120.1, 133.7. 120.1, 133.7. In year 3 it's what? 142.5 and 151.9. 142.5 and 151.9. Right? So after you have come up with the exchange rate, you then say dollars. Remember, those were millions of Ilandwe, so you can now have millions of dollars as well. And then your currencies going forward are now in dollars. So you then say net cash flows. Net cash flow is now in dollars. You say what you had in Ilandwe Rand divide by the exchange rate. Now you can say, do we divide? How do you know we divide? Notice Ilandwe Rand per dollar. Are you noticing that the exchange rate is telling you that $1 equals 120 Ilandwe Rand? So the exchange rate is telling you that dollars are fewer than Ilandwe Rand. You can see it from the exchange rate. Because you need to know, with this exchange rate, do I divide or I multiply? So if the exchange rate is saying Ilandwe Rand per dollar equals 120, it is telling you that dollars are fewer than Ilandwe Rand. So if I'm converting from Ilandwe Rand to dollars, I must get fewer dollars. How? By dividing. I get them by dividing, like this. And then, what else do I do? I then say, after saying net cash flows, you get that? After saying net cash flows, I then say contribution on components. These are now dollars. Contribution on components. And then I then say royalties, because these were being paid to us. Royalties. I then say tax on contribution and royalties. Tax on contribution, because they are now in the US, and the US government, when we're transferring components, US government considers those to be sales. So tax on contribution and royalties. Tax and contribution and royalties. Are you not seeing I am constructing my workspace? Even if the examiner says time up, the examiner, even if it's time up, they know. So tax, it's like I'm saying equals 20% times contributions and royalties. It's actually equals minus 20% because this is tax. So there you go. And then, is there any opportunity cost? I'm told that there will be opportunity cost of these amounts. But my remember, this is 20,000, 55,000, 57,000, 59,000. But my figures are in millions. So 20,000 in millions, it's 0. So I then say redundancy and lost contribution. Redundancy and lost contribution. Because my figures are in millions, so if it's 20,000, it's like 0. 55,000, 000. Because if I convert everything to millions, it becomes 0. So this is the point that I had written, we had written earlier when we said any opportunity cost. If there is an opportunity cost, meaning as a result of the project we lose something like lost contribution, you put it there also. But in our case, the lost contribution is in thousands and our cash flows are in millions. So what it means is what it means is these ones, they become 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. All right. So after doing that, we then say we now have that part. We then say net cash flows. Net cash flows. Net cash flows. Now our NPV is it. So net cash flows, you are adding this through to this. All right. So NPV, remember, it's your exam is now computer based. So NPV, you just say, you don't go to tables, just say NPV at it saves time. NPV at 12%. Do you still remember how we calculate it? Tashinga, can you unmute and talk to me? Sorry, teacher, are you able to unmute and talk to me? I want you to tell me how we calculate NPV using the NPV formula. Oh, sorry. Who can unmute? Tashink, can you unmute and talk to me how we calculate NPV using the NPV formula? I say equals
NPV bracket 12%,
12%,
comma, then we highlight only the positives from year 1 to year 4.
Therefore,
then we close the brackets, then we add the value in year 0.
Why adding in year 0?
Because it's a negative value.
Yes, because year 0 we need to subtract it. Now if it's a negative and you subtract a negative, it then adds. So it is, yes, you add it like this. Done. So are you not seeing with my template like this, even if the examiner says timeout, I can tell you, let me not cause you to commit to that. Then let us now have workings. We now want workings, and the workings, they just follow the same headings that we have there. Workings. Yeah. Our workings now starts, you in the interest of convenience, let us have year 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 as we have there. And then let us have units. Our products are in millions, quantity in millions. So quantity, why? Because we are working in millions. So if the quantities are 150,000, it becomes 0,15, 0,48, 0,73, 0,36. You get that? It becomes 0,15, 0,48, 0,73, and 0,36. Notice, once I read once like this, I'm able to commit this. You must be also proficient with your figures. Why quantities? These are control totals. We shall use quantities to calculate quite a lot of things. And then selling price. Currently, we are told that selling price is in euros. The selling price is 700, but it is going to increase with euro inflation from year 1 onwards. Now, what is the euro inflation? You flip back. Euro inflation is EU inflation is 5% for the first 2 years, 4% from the year 3 onwards. So it will be selling price. This selling price is in euro. It's in euros. It will be equals 700 times 1,05, then equals this year times 1,05, then equals this times 1,04, because inflation is changing from year 3 onwards. So this becomes the selling price. You can put commas to make your numbers look nice, and then you say sales. Yeah, when you're now coming up with sales, you say quantity times SP.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Our units not in thousands. I've noticed they are saying that in millions.
Units.
Yes.
Units are in thousands, but we converted them to millions.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes. Now, notice when you are calculating sales, you say quantity times selling price times. Remember, you need sales in rand millions. So you then say, if you say quantity times selling price, you get sales in euros. So you then say times rand / euro exchange rate. Rand / euro exchange rate. So what you then do is you are now saying equals quantity like this times selling price times what is the rand euro exchange rate. You come to the question here, 165 in year 1, then you say times 165. So these are your, you can drag, but then you need just to change the exchange rate. In year 2, 180,2, 190,2. So we are now saying here 180,2, 180,2. In year 3, 190,2, 190,2. In year 4, you are also 200,8. You are also getting how you can be fast. 200,8. 8, right? But are you noticing I'm still working, but the examiner knows that I'm going to get this thing right away. So my workings should follow my figures here. Components are being transferred at 280. So you have that. We are told that it changed it increased from 200 to 280. So it's now 280. But we are also told that they are being transferred from US at 280. But we are also told that all these costs, wherever they are incurred, they will increase by that country's inflation. So the components will not remain 280. They will increase by that country's inflation, meaning they will increase by US inflation. And the US inflation from year 1 is 3% here. So what you do is you say components. Notice you just say quantity, because this is per unit, times quantity times 280 like this, times inflation index times rand / dollar exchange rate. Why are we multiplying? Because we want to convert dollars to rand, and rands are more than dollars. So if you want to get more rand, you don't divide with the exchange rate, you multiply. If you want less US, you divide. You get that? So notice I have one working for everything. I will not have working for selling price, working for a single working like this. So you are now saying equals quantity times 80. Because inflation is the same, you say times 1,03 to the power of the year times Ilandwe Rand dollar exchange rate. We already have it at the top there. Enter. So after doing this, I just then drag. I have my figures. Notice the beauty of Excel. That's the beauty of Excel. You fly with your workings, and then remember my workings are following what I have here. Then assembly. Let me first have assembly cost per unit. Assembly cost per unit. Now assembly cost per unit, I get it again from where I was reading. I get it from, they are saying assembly costs, it's 1596 per component. This is 1596 per component. But we are told that this is going to increase by inflation from year one onwards. So what is Ilandwe Rand inflation? Ilandwe Rand inflation is given at the top. Year 1, 22%, year 2, 14.7%, year 3 onwards, 9.8. So what I do is I say year 1 equals 15,960 times 1,22. Then if I then want year 2, I then say equals year 1, because inflation is now 14.7 times 147. Oh, sorry, 1,147. Like this. If I then want year 3, I say the year 2, because inflation is now 9% times 1,098. Then year 3 onwards is the same, so I just drag. So this is per unit. Notice, this is per unit. So what I do is, let me shade it because I won't use it. I then say assembly in Ilandwe Rand millions. Ilandwe Rand millions. How do I get it? I just say equals quantity times assembly per unit. Quantity times assembly per unit. So I just say equals quantity here multiplied by assembly per unit. No wonder why I had first to get the assembly. Done. Then I come next. I'm being guided by this. I will ask you a question at the end. Fix the costs. The order in which I came up with these is the order in which I will sort out the mess. Fix the costs. Fix the costs. These ones are in Ilandwe Rand, so it's a matter of saying inflated. Inflated. Don't show the inflation with workings when your exam is computer-based. Computer-based exam, the examiner will know the figures you've punched. Are you not seeing I'm just punching in the calculator and the examiner will see from what I've punched? So fixed the costs are 4,600,000. And then they will increase by Ilandwe Rand inflation. So these are already in Ilandwe Rand. So it equals 4,600 times 4,600 times 1,22. Because first year is 22%, second year equals this times, because inflation is now 1,147, it's now 14.7. Then the same formula now arises like above, because we are now just in, equals this times 1,098. Okay, like this. Okay, correct. So I'm done with my fixed costs, and then I check what else did I write. It's royalties. Royalties, we said they are now 36 million. Remember, we calculated them. They were to be increased by 80%, 20% plus 80%. They are now 36. As you can see, we have the figure there. So on royalties. Remember, we are converting to Ilandwe Rand millions. So you say royalties. royalties. You first find cash flows in foreign currency. That is the rule. So royalties is 36 million. 36 million. This is dollars. 36 million. These are dollars times rand / dollar exchange rate. So it's a matter of saying equals 36, because the figures are in millions already, times the rand dollar, which is this one. Enter. So these are the figures for my royalties. Already I am done there. Then capital allowances. I'm told that capital allowances are 25% of 18, so we calculated those. We got 4,500, 4,500, 4,500, 4,500. And then, so what you can simply do, are you not seeing, I now have my figures. So if I come here and say sales, it's a matter of saying equals. I come to my figures here. That's what you'll be doing in the exam. Sales. Enter. Once you press enter like this, you can drag your sales like this through to year 4. And then components. I come here, I pick components, or I say equals minus, because these are costs. Notice when they are costs, you say equals minus. So this becomes my components. Notice already it's put a minus. And then I drag. Then assembly, I say equals minus, because these are costs. I come here and take assembly in rand millions, not per unit, like that. After getting it, I drag it like that. Fixed costs equals minus. Why minus? Because I'm taking the cost. Enter. The reason why my workings are ordered like this, like how I've put it, is to avoid confusion. Is to make sure that I won't be confused. Then royalties equals minus. Royalties equals minus. I come to royalties, enter. I drag. Not seen. Then I then say tax allowable depreciation equals minus. I come to tax allowable depreciation here, enter. Then I drag. Notice I now make sure that my taxable income figure here is correct by validating it. Then I can drag it. Notice everything here, everything is now working itself out through to net present value. Notice, through to net present value. As I am completing it, my net present value is being calculated. And now there is carry forward tax loss. Notice in year 1, it's negative, meaning there is a carry forward tax loss. There was a tax loss in year 1. No wonder they are saying this tax loss is carried forward against profits which are may end after 2 years. So it will come here and reduce profits in year 3 like this. So already my tax here was supposed to be minus. Tax is a minus, because if tax is a plus, it then doubles, you know that. So your tax is a minus. Notice I said add back tax allowable depreciation. I have already put a formula. Are you not seeing? Everything is already done. Add back tax loss. It was here. It's now added back. Now, if here it was negative, you want to add it back by formula. You say minus this, because it was a negative. It then becomes a plus. That's what I've done on capital allowances. I said minus this. They become a plus. You get it. So notice, as you are doing it, your NPV is being calculated right away. So are you not seeing the beauty of it? So the beauty of this is, suppose the examiner then says, stop writing. I then just take this NPV. They will come to this working and they will know. Remember, they will have it. They know that I hadn't have enough time. But it's imagine now if you did not put links, if you have not done workings, which figure then do you put? Because you still have blanks there. So remember I said up to 9:15. I'm about to finish. Let me wrap it up so that I won't take much of your time. Do I still have people here? Oh, perfect. You guys are perfect. You know, that shows that you are doing FM. You don't just disappear just like that because of SADS. Okay, so continuing with our calculations here, we were now on royalties. You continue doing it. We are now on incremental working capital. So that's how you do it. You say incremental working capital. Enter working capital. So first, when you're calculating incremental working capital, what you first do is you say working capital level. Working capital level. That's what you do next. Concerning working capital, you first come up with working capital level, and you have it here. We are given working capital level. The examiner said 9,600,000 in working capital will be required immediately. The working capital will be increased annually at the start of each of the next 3 years by yield inflation rate. So it's like this, and it will be recovered or released at the end of the project's life. So it's 9,600. Working capital, it starts in year 0. So you say 9,600, and it is going to increase with the land inflation rate. So it equals this times 1,222, because the land inflation rate is given in the first part of the question. It is 22% in year 1. If it's now in year 2, it's 14,7, 1,147. If it's now in year 3, it's 9,08. So equals this times 1,098. Right. These are your inflation figures. These are your working capital figures. When the examiner says working capital will be recovered at the end, they mean your level in the final year is 0. That's what they mean. Put 0 in final year. So once you now have working capital level like this, you can now have incremental working capital. Incremental working capital. Notice, incremental in the first year, you need to invest 9,600. So it's negative. You say equals minus this one. Then going forward, you take incremental. So you're saying equals the 9,600 you have minus where it is now. So that becomes the cash flow. You notice in the last year, because it needs to be 0, it's recovered right away. It's recovered because it's 14,750 minus 0, so it's 14,750. So you take this figure here and put it under incremental working capital here. It's a matter of saying equals from year 0. Take it as it is. Incremental working capital. Press enter and drag it like this through to F4. Already you have your incremental working capital. And notice, if each time you are doing it, your NPV is changing. Your NPV is changing. So that's then initial cost. Initial cost, you come here, it's 21 plus 18,000, which is 39,000. You put 39. Oh, sorry. Undo. You come here and put minus 39, 1, 2, 3. Right? Are you getting it? Exchange rate. So it's sorting itself out. Now we are on contribution. This is how you will be working. We are now on contribution. So you just scroll down in contribution. Now contribution, we have calculated it already in the notes when we're reading the question. Contribution, it's now 40 plus 80 because we increased the price to 280. So contribution was 40. After increasing the price to 280, it will also increase by 80 because the price was 200 when contribution was 40. Now if you increase the price to 280, contribution becomes 40 plus 80, which is 120. But this is going to increase with inflation, with the US inflation. So we are going to say 120 times 3% inflation. Remember, we are now working our cash flows in dollars, so there's no more need for exchange rate. So it's now a matter of saying contribution on components. Contribution on components. So it's we are just saying 40 plus 80 brackets times inflation. So it's a matter of saying in year 0 equal remember it's quantity, there's need to multiply by quantity because that one was per unit. So it's quantity times 40 plus, times 120 plus inflation. So it will be equals quantity times contribution component 120 times inflation. US inflation is 3% throughout. So it's 1,03 to the power year. To the power year like this. Enter. So if I just drag like this, already I now have my contribution. So what I do, because this is positive, we are now in US. We are the ones receiving these contributions. Components were a cost, but contribution on such transfers, it's income. So you now have it like this. Notice, already it is calculating tax on contributions. It's already calculated before I have done anything, because I have already linked my Excel. And then royalties are 36 million. Royalties are 36 million, and we are told that there's no inflation on royalties. So it's 36 million throughout. So like this, paste. Redundant costs, we said to the nearest million are zeros. Redundant costs to the nearest million, they are zeros. What else? What else are we supposed to put here? All right. How were these figures calculated? All right. So these figures were calculated, right? All right. So these figures were calculated in a proper way. These figures were calculated in a proper way. All right. What was my text like here? Positive, positive. All right. My texts were calculated right. Okay, so with this, you are done. With this, you are done. Like this. So what we need to check the answer there with the question. So let us come, it is positive 299 million. It's like 300 million. So what we then have to do is to check with the answer in the interest of time. Let us check with the answer, June 2015. June 2015, do we have the answer? Do I have the answer here? Yes. Oh no, it's 20. Yes, here you are. June 2015. So what we want is to just for you to see the calculations. I told you that when you are discussing, right, we want the figures after we have converted to domestic currency, the figures which are in yellow here. 479, 479 479, 16,370, etc. We have 479. Oh, okay. Let us see. Oh, sorry, this formula is wrong. Because if you punch it like this, notice it was adding from royalties. So let us correct that. This net cash flow was supposed to take from here. Okay. Let me delete. It was supposed to take from here. Enter. So if I drag, all right. The net NPV I'm getting is 147. It was just that link there. Let me now go back to the answer. The NPV which they have is 148. So you can see we were correct on everything. It can't be like exact. If we have got 140 hours, it's 147,48. It's because of rounding. Remember, it can't be like as exact as they have it here. We don't even care. As long as we have got 148 and they've got 140 and they have 148 and we've got 147,48. It's correct because we were rounding to 2 decimal places. So what does this now? Notice something important. This you will thank me later. Just imagine that these are our workings. How many lines? Notice our workings only took 10 from 79 to 90. Our workings only took 12 lines. 12 lines were enough for us to have workings to answer a question which is worth 21 marks. We just had 12 lines for our workings. So at your level, now notice, if I present this to the board, and say, look, this is the appendix attached in the report, the appendices, and the board, they have this a succinct, direct, and a good report, and then computations are in appendices. Look at this. This is what you can present to the board. Notice how brief and how neat are the workings, are the appendices. With my NPV, now notice when you are answering computer-based exam, NPV, don't use discount rates and stuff. You waste unnecessary time. After getting to cash flows, to net cash flows, when you are calculating NPV, you say equals. Don't bother about discounting factors. Just say equals. Then you say NPV. And then you open brackets. It tells you what you do is you put rate 12%. Here it is writing rate. It's populating it like this, but in the exam it doesn't show. You put the rate and put a comma. And then a comma, not dot, comma. Remember, dot is not a comma. Then you highlight values from year 1 like this. And then you need to subtract initial outlay. But remember, initial outlay is negative. So what you do, you add it. You say plus initial outlay like this. 147,48. It's now easy. Don't say so. The examiner will not mark. What about the discount rate? And so the examiner knows, because it's now computer based. The examiner knows already that the students who are doing it this way are the students who are actually, prepared. Suppose you wanted to calculate IRR. You would simply say equals IRR, then IRR, and then you highlight values from year IRR, you start from year 0. NPV, you start from year 1. You highlight them both, press enter. IRR is 23% for this project. Suppose you wanted to calculate modified IRR, MIRR. You say equals MIRR, open bracket. It tells you what to do. So you highlight from year 0, MIRR from year 0. After doing this, don't close bracket, but put a comma. Then finance rate, meaning your cost of capital. You say 12%. Make sure you put percentage sign. You put another comma. Reinvestment rate is again 12%. Close. Press enter. So modified IRR is 287%. Don't say what the heck is that figure? Is correct. That's how you get modified IRR. So you have all that with you. Don't now continue to say IRR, I need 2 NPVs, I need, oh no. Now that your exam is computer based, there's no more need for that. Modified IRR, say I have forgotten the formula, I have forgotten how to apply it. Don't worry, just say MIRR as I have done here. If it comes up with a huge figure, don't even trouble if that's the correct answer. Don't bother yourself much with anything. Right, so there you go.
Sorry, sir.
Yes.
If you go back on that calculation, that 287.
Yes.
Weren't we supposed to put in a percentage on the last 12 there?
Well, I just put 12, not 12%.
Yes.
Right, it's 12%. Good. 20%. It comes to 20%. So IRR, modified IRR is 20%. Now, suppose, I have forgotten to put the percentage sign, and it was 287. In the exam, don't think the examiner will actually mark you wrong. They know already that you were rushing, you were having exam pressure, but what the examiner normally does is there was no percentage sign, so it was like this. So the examiner will place a cursor like this and realize that, oh, you left the percentage sign. The examiner can easily see it from your formula bar here. Are you getting it? So if it was 3 marks, you can just lose around half a mark because the examiner clearly knows you know. What was actually left was the percentage sign. Press enter. Remember, we want to finish it around 1/4. Remember, we had left blanks here. So we just wanted to put the project is financially acceptable as evidenced by, you then have just to type positive. Positive. You just come here now and type positive. Positive. That's what you do. NPV of 147 million. 147 million. Whether the examiner is 148 is 25. Then it's done. That was the only line which was missing. Everything else then becomes complete. Everything else becomes complete. On the recommendation, we have left a space where we said the firm should not, if we wanted to say not, but we realized that it's positive, so it should go ahead. So the space for not is no longer there. You are done. What have you learned from this? You have learned that if you start with workings and then write assumptions later, believe me on that one, it's a death trap you are putting yourself. Can you imagine after getting exhausted with workings like this, you then want to say assumptions and other risks? Already you are put off. Imagine if you were having confusions. You were having confusions. You don't know which exchange rate to use. Do we divide? Suppose all that was giving you a headache, and you have started. You just jumped to workings, and you got a lot of beating. Imagine now you are now on point number B, which is saying assumptions. You will then risk yourself losing easy marks, which you could have accumulated, yet you written assumptions, whilst You were fresh. Why? Because assumptions normally can be written even if you are yet to calculate. Even if you are yet to calculate anything, you can write assumptions. Because assumptions have nothing to do with your calculations. So why saying I must calculate? Can you imagine? You were chasing 21 marks with all these calculations. That was 21 marks. But I told you that for you to pass the exam, section A has 50 marks. Section A has 50 marks. Section B has 50 marks. Section B has 50 marks. It is 2 by 25 equals 50 marks. So for you to pass the exam, you need to score a pass mark on both sections, because the sections are compulsory. You know, compulsory does not mean they have to be answered. Compulsory means you must pass each section. Compulsory means if you fail the section, it's not compensated by more marks you get elsewhere. So let's say there is student A, student 1, who gets 45 in section A and went on to get 10 in section B. This is student who have 49%. Why 49% yet the student had 50? It's because section B is compulsory. Section B is compulsory, meaning you cannot offset marks you have lost in section B by more marks you have gotten in section A. If section B was optional, you were going to get 55%. But section B is compulsory or in its own right, meaning if you fail it, you know, compulsory does not mean must be answered. Must be answered means must be attempted. Compulsory means must be passed. No wonder why there is this instruction here. It's saying, section A, this one question is compulsory and must be attempted. Are you not seeing that? Must be attempted is a separate instruction from compulsory. Now, students tend to think that compulsory means must be attempted, yet there is the word and here, and. Meaning there are two separate instructions. There's an instruction for compulsory and there's instruction for must be attempted. Now, this paper, section B was optional because it was still 2015. Now it is changed. Both sections are now compulsory. What does it mean? You need to score a pass mark in both sections. Why am I saying this? I am saying this because suppose during your workings, you were yet to complete this part here. And the examiner, the time is saying you were yet to complete this part, for example. Remember, the question is 50 marks. Everything you have done, but you are left with this. And notice the amount of time it was going to take. And then the examiner then says, the time then says 30 minutes to go. Clearly, already section A, you now have around 45, 42 marks. So to say, let me complete this part to get to 48 marks and then proceed to answer just 5 marks in section B and time is up, you are doing yourself a disservice, a very bad service, because section B you only got 5 marks out of 50, yet it's compulsory as well. So what you then have to do is make sure you address the compulsory aspects of the paper. So how do you may say, how do I go about it? Suppose I'm now student 2. A student who is in this class knows that in a paper like this, what I've just done here is I have already written assumptions, 17 marks, let me plus or minus 2, 15. Licensing over what already, this one I can get 5, 15 plus 5, 20. And then on the workings part, I have done substantially all the workings. So out of 21, or suppose I got 14, or let's say 14. So I now have 15 plus 5 plus 14, that is 20 plus 14, 34. And my teacher told me that section B is also compulsory. So I must not waste time to the extent of getting 50 out of 50 on section A. Now I have 34 on section A, and it's incomplete. But I know what I have written can give me 34. That much I know. Because of exam practice, I'm confident that I will get 34. What do? I then go section B with my marks. Time which is left, section B's first question, I get 10. Second question, suppose it's only hedging and derivatives. I'm confident with that. I then get around 17. What do I get in section B? 27. So in total, I have got 34 plus 27, 61%. These are students who have prepared for the exam. Can you imagine student number 1 was a super student, but wasted time in trying to get 45 marks in section A, and only to squander the opportunity to pass section B, and only got 10 marks, which was on number 2, and left number 3 unanswered. But the student number 2 knows that there is a difference between AFM and AFM exam. Those are two different things. Knowing AFM is one thing, knowing AFM exam is another. Student number 2 knows that this is an AFM exam, it's not AFM. So what I have to do is to make sure I address the compulsory aspects of the sections. Compulsory meaning it needs to be passed, not must be attempted. So I then have 10 marks. Suppose number 2 was a bit tricky, I got 10 marks. Number 3 was on derivatives, I got 17 marks. 27, paper comes, I have 61. Warm and dry. But student number 1 knew everything in section B. But for whatever reason, student number 1 did not prepare for an AFM exam and squandered time trying to impress the examiner by getting 50 out of 50 in section A, which is a futile attempt, which is an acute failure to plan for the exam. Can you tell me, just type that part, noted, say. Please type on that. Can you type that part? I want, these parts, I want you to just tell me you are getting it. You have to tell me you are getting it. All right. Okay. Perfect. Then the other thing now is how do I make sure I sort this mess? The marking scheme is detailed. Never practice and have marking scheme as your critical success factor, because the marking scheme is detailed, especially on discursive parts. Can you imagine the answer to this question on the discursive parts? Notice the answer to this question on the discursive parts of it. Notice. So imagine if you say, I want my answer to be as detailed as marking scheme. Even if we say don't read the question paper, just start typing the marking scheme. Start just typing the marking scheme without even doing anything. Are you telling me you'll be able to finish all this? If you are just typing the marking scheme, tell me will you be able to finish all this? If you are just typing the marking scheme, notice how detailed they are when it comes to discussions. Can you imagine? From here, when they've said discussion, imagine, notice. Are you telling me that you will be able to type like this? If you have a critical success factor to say your discursive parts must be to the extent of the marking scheme, it is a sign of not doing enough exam practice. No wonder why we give you assignments. You may say, in what way then is this marking scheme this detailed? It's because marking scheme is for the examiner. You are not the examiner. The examiner is being told that there are students worldwide who know these things in this way. Some may present a point this way, another this way, another this way. So the examiner is being told not to mark a student wrong who might be correct. No wonder why then discursive parts are so detailed. You are not a range of students. You are just a single student. You can't say my answer should equate to what a range of students should have written. But when it comes to computations, like in this case, when it comes now to computations, you must get the answer that the examiner got. But believe you me, notice how they have done their workings. So this part is correct, but just notice how they have done the workings. If you wanted to do the workings this way, here it might look like it's brief. Believe you me, if you are to type it this way, it will take you quite a lot of time. So what I then want you to do is, you, in the interest of brevity for your workings, do your workings this way. Notice how these are quite presentable. They are even presentable than, they are even more presentable than what the examiner did. Can you imagine? The examiner, the way they were putting up this is, but these ones are quite clearly presentable. These we can present to the board. But for computations, your answer should be the same with what the examiner got, except for the degree of accuracy. Like in this case, they got 148 and we got 147, due to rounding off, but you can't say our answers are different. They are the same. They're actually the same, you know that. Okay, so here's the deal. Going forward, to-do list. I've given you the assignments, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you notes, videos on mergers and acquisitions. You know what? When I send you a video, perhaps I have to explain on this part. When I send you a video, the understanding is whatever in that video I was going to say it, because I'm the same tutor. And the video that I have taught helps us to leapfrog with our syllabus. Remember, we are now left with just mergers and acquisitions, reconstruction, and derivatives. So what I want is to leapfrog the syllabus in the interest of time which is left. So because I have taught and I have a video which is competently explained, what I do is I will send the video on mergers and acquisitions and business reconstruction. Once I have sent those videos, I consider it done. It's not like they are not important. If you play the video, you are actually noticing that we were doing past exam questions the same way we have done this video. You know, this video, because I had something new to explain. If you play the previous ones with this one, you notice I had something slightly new to explain. No wonder why I had to do it. If I feel like what I explained there still holds in this particular syllabus, in this particular subject, because your syllabus is the same from September last year to June this year. So it will be the same. So when I say this video, do it, I'm not saying it's not important. These are equally examinative topics. And I know I have given you assignments. So now you are equipped with assignments. You have the videos. You have my notes, AFM notes from Mr. Mpati. So here is the deal. I want us to finish the syllabus by the 11th of May, 14th of May latest. So how are we going to do it? It's easy. Some of the lectures, I have done them already. They are on video. And the video, you can play it anyway. It's accessible digitally. That's an advantage. So what I'm then going to do, play the video as if you are in class. Don't even play the video whilst you're having noises. Go to your study room. You make sure you have got 3 hours, especially on mergers and acquisitions. The video is almost around 4 hours. Make sure you have at least 3 hours available non-stop to play the video like what we have done in this lecture. And as for me, I will consider that topic to be done. Mergers and acquisition. Remember, you will notice we did around 7 question papers. 7 on mergers and acquisitions. You will see from the video I'm sending. I will give you instructions as well when I send it on our WhatsApp. We did around 7 question papers on mergers and acquisitions. So that video is loaded. No wonder I'm saying make sure you have in excess of 4 hours to attend to that. So what then is left, say, if you may ask, what is left is derivatives. And derivatives is what we are going to do next week, and we do the week after, so that we then spend the whole month of May doing revision. I want you all guys to pass, and we need to have mutual understanding of objectives. Otherwise, it will not come out right. So make sure you are in agreement with your say. Don't say, I will start in May. No. When I'm saying in the video, we did 7 question papers. In short, what I'm saying, mergers and acquisitions, you will learn it and revise it in that video. The revision is equally in that same video. So it is loaded. You can't say I've played the video. What is left is now to revise it. When I'm saying I have a video where we did 7 question papers on mergers and acquisitions, what else then do you need? All you need is to find time, a quiet place, play the video as if you are in a lecture. That is what is coming. So when you are seeing me next week, we are now doing derivatives. You will enjoy it, guys. You have a good night. Thank you so much for your patience, and this is called obedience. Continue doing this. Those who are yet to receive assignments, don't worry, I'm taking my laptop to the lounge. I'll be with my laptop, and I will be answering you. If I ask you to change your email address, because some of the things is perhaps I then have to, if you haven't received it perhaps, I then have to do something. I need to talk with administration how best we can address some of you who are saying you have got issues with the assignments. I then have to do. Sima, I checked your account. Unless you have used another name, actually for the assignments, let me get into the launch, have my dinner, and allow me to attend to your questions around 10. So make sure you are equally also in that particular, are expecting those messages from your say, and may you respond around 10:15 going forward. I'll be doing that through to 11:30. So my pleasure, guys. You have a good night and a wonderful week ahead. Videos, if you don't see videos by tomorrow, make sure you remind me. Make sure you remind me, because remember, you say I teach 28 subjects. When I'm saying 28, I mean 28. Can you imagine? All these subjects, 28, I make sure you complete the syllabus in 2.5 months. So when I promise you a video, don't wait until, if you don't see it, because I have people who maintain my social media accounts. They are the ones who stream the videos you always see. So they need then to dig it deeper for me and give it to me. So I will ask them immediately, but I need to push them. But I tend to forget because the subjects are so many. So please remind me, don't wait until it's late. Cheers, guys. I'm taking much of your time. Bye.
Good night, sir. Bye.
Bye. You have a good night.
Bye-bye.